In Sweden, which is now the rapé capital of the world, freedom of speech is about to become a relic of history in Sweden, and that should worry everyone in the rest of Europe and the United States as well, for we are not all that far behind. Two men are about to go on trial for the crime of burning the Quran. Turns out it was two Arab guys who did the burning, but they're calling it white supremacy anyway. Why? Because everything is white supremacy today. What are you going to do? Why are we tolerating this insanity? Making Sweden surrender all the more piquant, which is the nice word for spicy, is the fact that the two men who are about to be tried are named Salwan Momika and Salwan Najem. Neither is, in other words, a white supremacist whose distaste for the book that the Muslims hold sacred stems from racism or bigotry. Both are men who dislike the Quran whose dislike for the Quran stems from a great deal of unpleasant first-hand interaction with those who believe that this is the perfect world of Allah. That fact, however, is routinely ignored by Western establishment media, which, when it deigns to notice the existence of Mamika and Najem at all, dismisses them as right-wing extremists in the face of all of the evidence to the contrary.
All right,
this is how bizarre it's gotten.
Yeah, let's just talk about the whole Quran thing, okay? All right. The Bible has got some crazy shit in it, okay? I'm just going to be honest.
Any religious book does.
Especially the Old Testament.
Point blank. Any religious book does. But yes, point conceded.
We don't have a bunch of people today living exactly how it said in the Old Testament and part of the New Testament. And when those Christian organizations do pop up and they're that extreme, we wipe them the fuck out. Because extremism is the same thing no matter what label you put underneath it. Christian extremism, Jewish extremism, Islam, Buddha, you go down the line. It's all extremism. All right. Now, what we have going on here is we have the mainstream media, the 30-pound brains, the WEF, the global order, trying to force this down our throats and punishing us when we say, wait a minute, this is a bad thing. We need to have more people saying this is a bad thing and not being silent about it, because this is coming for us here in America. All right. It's already popping off in a couple of states. You just wait. In fact, the Battle Dwarf and I talked about this extensively while we were getting food.
Yeah. It's ugly, and it is definitely headed this way. I happen to know that in some of the Norse countries, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, the museums are now staffed by these individuals of the desert persuasion.
The religion of peace?
Those ones there, yes, who are now destroying Nordic artifacts because they have too many of them. There's a Somali in charge of one of the museums in Denmark, I think it is.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we have too many artifacts from that period, so we're just going to destroy them because there's too many of them. This is wholesale invasion of our countries that's going on right now. And it's especially noticeable in Europe, where you've actually got populations where Denmark is full of Danes, Norway is full of Norwegians, Sweden is full of Swedes, and so on and so forth. Okay, Ireland, Irish people, England, English people or British people or whatever they want to call themselves with their bad teeth and bland food.
That's totally
accurate. I'm sorry, that was a cheap swipe, but I had to take it.
No, it's totally accurate, though.
But I like the food, though. It's bland, but it's pretty good. Anyway, and then today on Twitter, right before I got thrown in Twitter gulag, I saw an Israeli individual tell a Welshman that Israel is a real country and Wales isn't even a country, to which that Israeli person got dogpiled on. And it turns out that the people in Wales have been living there for 9,000 years, and their country has been a country for 1,000 years, whereas Israel was a small kingdom in the Levant that lasted from 910 BC, which means before Christ, by the way, to 740 BC, which means it lasted about 150 years. this little kingdom of Israel, and then it's gone.
What happened to them?
They were wiped out when they pissed off the Persian Empire. They were completely, I forget, I can't pronounce the name right now, the Akkadian Empire or one of those. It was one of the early empires that showed up right after classical Egypt fell. Now, classical Egypt was 3,000 years ago. Here I go down the rabbit hole. I'm not going to do that to you right now. Anyway, Egypt was never a country. It was a kingdom 2,740 years ago. And they're jumping on the Welsh people who have been there for 9,000 years, saying you're not a country and you deserve to be colonized. Well, guess what happens when you start telling people like the Welsh and the Scots and the Irish that they deserve to be colonized and they should all be killed?
You're going to get what you always get throughout history.
They get angry.
You are going to get a bunch of angry people.
Yeah.
And then they're going to revolt.
Yes.
And then you're going to wind up with open war. And then that's a whole lot of bloodshed.
This is the peoples, the Scots, the Welsh, and the Irish, and the English, for the most part, in the north, not so much the south, probably because they were poisoned with frogs from France. During the time of Julius Caesar, 50 BC.
Okay.
Julius Caesar was in the Gallic Wars there. He attempted to invade Ireland, Wales, and Scotland and failed because those people would just beat the crap out of him. So that's the same people that are being pushed around right now.
Well, we'll see what happens.
My money is on it not ending well.
Well, I mean, we talked about this probably 5 or 6 months ago on how you get Adolf.
Yes, this is how you get Adolf.
This is how you get Adolf.
Yeah.
Because it's going to get to the point where you're going to need to have an extreme weight on the other end of the scales to balance it back out.
Yes.
Because let's face it, these individuals coming from the Middle East and Northern Africa, it's a whole different culture. They are not going to blend in. They are not going to assimilate. They're going to try to make you assimilate to them.
Yes, they're invaders.
That is what an invasion is.
Yep.
Just so we got it straight here.
Yeah. None of this is immigration. Anybody who says immigration or migrants is blatantly lying to you, gaslit themselves, attempting to gaslight you, or just idiots. Okay, point blank. This is an invasion. These are not migrants. These are not immigrants. That's not what's going on here. And you can tell because none of them are trying to assimilate, and there's millions of them at this point. Yes. In our case, like 34 million of them. And in Europe and the UK and stuff, I think it's like hundreds of thousands.
I have no idea. All I know
that's an invasion.
Is in the past 4 years, we've had somewhere between 20 and 40 million individuals come across our open borders.
Yes.
All right. So let's just do the math. That is 12 to 15% of the gross population of this country.
Yes. In the space of 10 years.
Yeah, that is going to be very hard to turn back. Once I don't even think it's possible now, unless you really want to crack the whip and get super draconian.
It would take a tremendous amount of freedom seeds being released into the wild.
Correct.
And there wouldn't be any other real way to do it. And it would require the people in the various states and counties to organize.
Yes.
And follow through. So Swedish voters boost anti-immigration party amid high crime. This is Sweden starting to push back. A populist anti-immigration party has surged to become Sweden's second largest political force after a national election dominated by fears of gang violence, and rapé, which has given the once safe Scandinavian country one of Europe's highest levels of gun violence.
All right, hang on.
There are gangs in Malmo, which is in Sweden, using grenades in the street.
Aren't firearms banned in that country?
I don't know officially. I do not know officially.
All right, so even if they are, it's not working.
Jimmy, weapons check on aisle Sweden. Weapons check on aisle Sweden.
Checking.
That was good.
So, thanks.
That was good.
At any rate, yeah, but grenades in the street.
Yeah,
these Islamist gangs I've seen multiple reports, and the police won't go anywhere near these neighborhoods either.
See, that's a big mistake.
It gets better.
Okay.
The postal service won't deliver either. But wait, if you order now, you also get no medical service in those areas.
There are no-go zones.
They are no-go zones.
All right, now let's be honest. All right. if you are a competent government
Mm-hmm.
and you wish to maintain order in your country,
Mm-hmm.
the minute you start getting calls from, oh, don't go there, that's a no-go zone, you send the military in there and crush them.
Yes. Or
There,
forcibly remove them.
or both.
Or both. I'm good with both.
Either one works.
You can't have that. It's like there's a couple of, I know, or in France, there's like whole mega structure, like housing units, like they used to have here in America,
Yes.
that are no-go zones.
Mhm.
Right now, if I was running the show, 10,000-pound bomb, the whole thing comes down. Problem solved.
I want to not subject the local population to a concussion like that.
I'm just saying, but this is what's happening: is if it's not stopped, it is going to only get worse.
We're already to the it has gotten worse point.
Yeah,
But just now, Sweden is starting to push back. And also in Germany, Germany's AFD, which is their right wing party, which is to the left of our Republicans today here in the United States, is winning elections. And it's driving the Bolsheviks. They're absolutely crazy. They just won a whole bunch of elections. In one city, I want to say it was Frankfurt, but I could be wrong. The AFD won all the seats, right? And like an hour later, the news comes out and goes, oh, the computer miscounted. It's actually the socialists who won. Sorry about that.
yeah, that's
Oh,
By
that
like,
sounds familiar.
yeah.
that sounds familiar.
And everyone out there who plays the Bolshevik drinking game,
Yeah.
drink twice now.
Sorry about that, guys.
Uh,
I'm not really sorry about that.
But I do have the firearm regulations
Yes.
in Sweden pulled up. Let's see, they have nine things here. Permit system: to own a gun in Sweden, you need a permit or license from the Swedish Police Authority. Permit
Okay.
is granted for specific type of gun and purpose, i.e., hunting, target shooting, or collecting. They have background checks. Reasonable cause: permit is granted only if there is a reasonable cause for the individual to own a gun, such as membership in a shooting club or hunting organization. Single gun ownership: initially permits are issued for a single gun. If you want to acquire additional guns, you must apply for separate permits. Guns must be stored securely in an approved firearm safe at home and disabled when transporting.
Mm.
Okay.
Civilians are not allowed to carry firearms concealed in public.
Okay.
Limited gun types: certain types of firearms, such as fully automatic weapons and certain semi-automatic rifles, are heavily restricted or prohibited.
Okay.
Hunting and sport shooting: guns are used for hunting and sport shooting must be registered and meet specific safety standards. And importing firearms into Sweden for private use requires a permit and compliance with Swedish regulations.
So what I'm hearing is rich people are allowed to have guns, and the average citizen is not allowed to defend themselves with a gun if they do have it.
Yeah. So basically, it's their gun laws are fuck all.
Pretty much. They have some notable causes and statistics here to continue. Sweden has a relatively low gun ownership compared to other European countries. According to the Swedish National Council for Crime Prevention, the majority of gun-related crimes in Sweden involve illegal firearms.
And illegal invaders.
Yep. In 2020, there were 14 gun-related homicides in Sweden compared to 39 in 2015.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Only 14?
Yep.
Rookie numbers.
And some rookie numbers, baby.
Country has a strong focus on addressing gang violence and weapons smuggling, particularly from neighboring countries.
All right. So
Neighboring countries like Iraq and Syria.
are you familiar with what's taking place down in South America with that? Was it that one country that's dealing with that gang crisis?
Which one? Are you speaking specifically of Salvador or Brazil
Salvador.
or Bolivia? Salvador?
They literally just said, we've had enough. And they rounded up like 70,000 of these gang members
That's Salvador.
and threw them in this huge prison complex.
Yes.
Yep.
And
where they wear nothing but boxer shorts and flip flops.
Yes. And the crime went to way low.
Yeah.
So we're going to, I hate to say this, but it's probably going to get to the point where you're going to have to do something like that as option one, or let option 2 play out, which is the citizens of said country get to the point where like, I've had enough.
Yeah.
And that's called mob justice. I don't want to see that. It's always brutal.
Yes.
It's effective,
Yes.
but it's brutal, and a lot of innocent people get ground up in the gears when that goes off.
It's true. And now, in a perfect fantasy world of year-round deer hunting and public beer fountains, I would like to see a prison in either Maryland or Virginia where our current administration, and I mean elected or bureaucrat or otherwise, is placed into one of these facilities for a period of time to think about their misdeeds and behavior.
After a rightful conviction.
Well, that's why it's a
Yes.
prison established
Yeah.
in one of the states.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that goes without saying. I wouldn't just grab them and throw them in there. That wouldn't be like me at all.
Yeah. No, it's not like our alphabet agencies aren't doing that to us
Already
already.
to citizens everywhere that have been held for 3 or 4 years without trial in many cases.
Well, we just had that guy on the show, and
Yeah.
I think he's out of jail now, but he did almost 4 years before he even had a trial.
Yeah.
In Wayne County. There you go.
Wow.
Yep.
That's just some yeah. So on unheard.com here, which apparently is another news variant out of Europe, Sweden's migrant rape crisis. European liberals never ask uncomfortable questions about immigration. Was the 2015 European migration crisis? It was 2012 to 2015. I remember watching the columns of invaders, literally huge columns.
Mm-hmm. Now let's be honest.
Like whole divisions.
Hang on.
Yeah.
People just don't line up like that unless they're organized by somebody.
Okay, we've discussed this before, but I'm going to go over it again for our gentle listeners on this one. In most cases, in most of the third world countries, Pop and I have both been in our share of them.
Oh, yes.
You are considered a well-traveled individual if you go more than 20 miles from your hometown more than once in your lifetime. You've done some traveling. The average person in these third world countries won't go more than 4 or 5 miles, and that's usually to get stuff that they need back home.
Correct.
And
when you drop out of the vagina, that's the bullseye where you're probably going to die.
And just to point out the obvious, I know of no footpath from sub-Saharan Africa to the United States, North America, South America. The last time I checked, the last time they brought a black population from sub-Saharan Africa from Africa to the Americas was in tightly packed slave ships, mostly owned by the Spaniards, Dutch, and Portuguese.
But you aren't familiar with the Bimini Road that goes all the way across to South America? I'm just fucking with you.
Stop it. Knock that shit off.
All right.
Anyway, point being, these people don't just do this, okay? They're being brought over to our countries, and what's happening, I did a little bit of research on this. Actually, there's a group of us that did a bunch of research on this. The NGOs, what they'll do is play the shell game. The NGOs that are moving all of the Africans and Syrians and what have yous into Europe, they're basing themselves in America. And the NGOs that are moving all of the immigrants into the invaders into the United States, North America, Canada, are based in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can't get at them.
For now.
Or at least that's their illusion that they've established.
Well, I mean,
that you can't get at them.
We have some American NGOs that are actually, working the gap.
Oh no! Once they get here, once they get their immigrants here, one of them is called HIAS, which is the Hebrew International Aid Society. Interestingly, and there's a bunch of other ones. Unfortunately, a lot of church groups are heavily involved in this stuff, which I don't understand. I'm sure they're taking shekels from somebody.
No, hang on. What we're seeing is they're taking advantage of people's mercy, kindness, and using it as a weapon against us, the population.
These are traits of Western nations.
I,
You and I have both been to enough other countries
Yes.
to know that these are traits of Western nations.
correct. And let's just be honest. I like to help people. I mean, I do it on the show all the time, trying to keep the gun out of people's mouths.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at some point, you have to realize, am I being taken advantage of?
Yep.
And we don't have a lot of people asking those questions, especially when they're getting all kinds of tax dollars from our own government to operate.
Which, by the way, is RICO and fraud and criminal
Yes.
trafficking and international conspiracy. Just putting that out there, because I know of no law that allows anybody in any government in the United States to spend money in that manner. Back to Europe, meanwhile, was the 2015 immigration migrant crisis followed by a surge in sex crime and sexual harassment? It's a delicate question. No, it's not. That's what happened. One that many people prefer not to be asked, much less answered. They want it out of the news. They don't want you talking about it. They don't want you to see it. They just want your daughter and your sister and your niece and your cousin to be raped. But as a result,
Apparade.
Apparade. My bad. I'm mad.
I understand. I
Really
understand.
spun up. There are a handful of criminal acts where that are the reason that I could never be a police officer.
I get it.
If I came across a rapacing or a child badly abused in some way, or an elder, or God forbid a dog, if I came across that and the suspect was still there and standing there with the implement of crime in their hand, I would probably shoot them.
Yeah, I get it.
I have that switch.
Yeah, I get it. That job's not for everyone. And
No,
I couldn't do it myself.
I couldn't do it.
And I'm going to be honest. I mean, I wanted to be a cop for quite a few years, and I'm glad the universe is like, you do something else.
Yeah, that's same with me. I had a bunch of friends like, you should come be a cop. It'd be great. I'm hearing the stories from them. They see these horrors every day. I'm like,
no,
I can't do that, man.
I can't.
Oh, you'll be fine. You get over it. I'm like, if you're getting over something like that, there's something broken in your thinking meat, okay?
But here's the thing: is the Western soft population is going to see that kind of shit shortly, because it's coming. I'm just wondering how it's going to.
Betting it's already here and we haven't seen it.
No, I'm just wondering how it's going to play out here in this country.
We'll see.
Because
we'll see. It very much depends on where.
Yeah.
Very much depends on where. There are portions of the United States that are still under redneck authority.
Listen, I've had some dreams about genocide taking place here in this country.
Yeah. One of the things I have noticed is, and I could be wrong, but I have not seen any of the invaders find their way to places like upcountry in the state of Louisiana, because I'm pretty sure they'd be gator food in a very short period of time.
Especially in red trash land in upper New York State.
Those are some bad dudes. Pop and I both served with a couple of those guys.
Yeah.
The upstate Louisiana boys don't play.
No, that's not going to go over.
Yeah.
And even a UP here in Michigan.
Sure. Same thing. That's the same creature, but with flannels and snowmobiles.
Yep.
Same kind of people. Why should this debate be restricted to these two extremes of either see no evil, hear no evil, or talk about the whole thing? Surely good social science requires that rigorous empirical research be carried on such a complex phenomena, particularly when it is controversial and politically sensitive. After all, only then can it be better understood and public policy measures be appropriately formulated and targeted. This is the talk of Bolsheviks gaslighting.
This is word salad.
Yes.
For it's happening and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
That's correct.
All right. This, again, we have to drink because he said Bolshevik.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.